Hey guys, so I was working on flattening some strops, and before I finished I thought I'd make a quick video just to show you how to do so. It can either be for a new strop you get that you don't feel like is flat, maybe the leather is flawed, or for an old strop that you've used and the leather is compressed over time or dished, or it could be because you want to redo your compound and you just want to get all the old compound or emulsion off and start over and just refresh it for any of those reasons. But you'll see here, this is just a 2.5 by 8 inch bench strop cowhide. And you'll see here I've already been starting. The low spots are still in dark, and the high spots that have been getting all the contact with the sandpaper are light. Another way to do it is the same way you flatten sharpening stones. And you can take a pencil and you can cross hatch it. Red pencil might show it better. And then you continue to work through the sandpaper until all of the pencil lines are gone. So you'll see here, it's wearing the pencil away on the part that's making contact, and the pencil is still left on these low spots, which I didn't really cross hatch this one because it's pretty obvious where the low spots are because it's so much darker than the fresh sanded leather. So I won't make you watch the whole thing, but basically you can start wherever you want. I'm starting on, I think this is 320 maybe, but it's 200 something or 300 something. And then I move to, once it's completely flat, then I wipe off the excess dust, which is with a damp piece of a paper towel that's clean. And then I let it, make sure it's dry, move to 600, and then 1,000, and then I finish on 2,000. I used to finish on a lower grit, like 400, because I like the texture, but then I was told that doing so leaves the pores too big because of the lower grit sandpaper, and that can either soak up too much emulsion, or what usually happens is the particles, say, are using diamond particles or diamond compound, and it's an emulsion, especially more of the liquid ones, they can settle down into the pores if the pores are too big. I don't know if that's true or not. Who knows if we can even tell a difference, but I'm choosing on this one to try going to what was recommended to me, 2,000 grit finish, to see if that makes it an even finer finish and makes the pores smaller, so that the compound sits more on top rather than, agglomerating, or whatever the word is, down into the pores. So anyway, I'll get going and won't make you watch the whole thing, but I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. Just a quick update, some information I forgot to mention. I don't have big sandpaper. It would be bigger or easier if I had the bigger 11 by 9, but I only have these 9 point whatever by 3 and change, 3.6, something like that. But it works fine. So just make sure that when you go this way, then you rotate it 180 degrees, and you go the other way. Keep it even. If you have bigger sandpaper, you can theoretically go side to side, circles and figure eights, but you have to be really careful if you do that, not to round or rip up the edges. So personally, I play it safe and just go back and forth and flip it. A couple other things, you have to make sure that particles, whether they be large pieces of leather or anything, don't get under the sandpaper. If they do, it causes little tiny lumps that will then start to gouge into your leather. So be very cautious of that. You can usually, not so much on the lower grit, but as you step up the sandpaper, you can tell if that happens because it will be an obvious, like, white or light spot where the leather is getting, making contact fully, and so you can usually tell if there's a little bump under there. It's much tougher on the thicker grit. Just the bigger grit on the lower sandpaper, you don't really see lumps as much, so just be careful. Maybe check often underneath. Also, if it gets too loaded up, it can cause gouging because there's some high spots. So if that happens, just take any type of eraser, big pink eraser, white eraser, whatever you have. Make sure it's clean and won't contaminate the strop. And then give it a quick. They have abrasive erasers too that are big, kind of beige or yellow looking with coarser or bigger pieces of rubber in it. Those are for cleaning abrasive belts. Those are actually really nice. Only about $10 on Amazon. All right, so that's not perfect, but I usually just have, you can have a shop vac if you actually have a shop or a garage. In my case, I just have a small vacuum. All right, guys, we're all finished. Resurfaced, perfectly flattened. It's actually a little bit shiny. As soon as you get above 1,000 grit and get to 2,000 grit, it starts to polish it a little bit. So finish it at whatever grit you like best. This is the first time I've ever gone to 2,000. Usually I go lower, but we'll see if there's any truth to what I was told about it. You know, having smaller pores so that the compound doesn't set down or settle down into it. Now, what you do after at this point depends on what kind of compound or emulsion you're going to use. If you're going to use, you know, the waxy bars, the green and white wax-based bars, a lot of people will, you know, bare minimum, make sure your hands are clean, rub it along your hand a bunch to get some of your hand oils in there. I'm going to do that no matter what I do after. What a lot of people do after that is they'll put some kind of oil on, whether it's neat's foot oil or minx oil, or some kind of blend, you know, like Montana pitch blend, some type of leather treatment or conditioner. I've never done that. Definitely should not do that if you're going to be applying, you know, water-based emulsions like gunny juice or stroppy stuff. I was told by both those makers that it is best when applying their products to strops that it just be the bare strop. So don't treat it with anything after. Saddle soap's another one people like to use. Don't do that either. It will not play nice with these compounds and suspensions or emulsions and suspensions. Just bare leather. Most you should do is just rub it on your hand to kind of get some of your hand oils in there and make sure the leather isn't too dry. Hold that sometimes sandpaper particles can become embedded in the leather. Everybody I've generally talked to though has not had that problem. You might have that problem if you use sort of the yellow beige colored sandpaper, the aluminum oxide that's generally just used for, you know, dry use on wood and whatnot. The darker SiC, silicon carbide sandpaper is wet dry. Usually that means it's bonded much better. It can be used wet or dry, and even when you get it wet, it should technically hold on to most of its particles. So the fact that we've been using it dry, you know, and it's pretty high quality paper, especially if you use 3M, something a little bit more expensive than the you know, off-brand Chinese stuff. It's like $10 for a pack of 50. You might want to spend a little extra and get the 3M stuff if you're going to be doing something with leather where you don't want to get any particles embedded. I haven't had that problem. I use some cheap Chinese stuff, and when I get to the higher grits, I definitely use 3M. So just be aware of that. I've been told that you can, you know, take tape and lay tape across it, kind of like you're getting pet hair or lint off your clothes, and then scrub it with a stiff bristle brush, dry it to get particles out. All seems a little extreme to me, and that would kind of nap up the leather again, I feel like, and undo some of the polish. But anyway, there's no necessarily right or wrong answer when it comes to that stuff. It's all just opinion, and you know, it's tough to find studies or scientific evidence and data to back any of this up. So try on there, try what you want to try, and see what you end up liking, and just roll with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this loaded up. I'll probably do gunny juice, 1 micron on this one. But yeah, thanks for watching, and comment if you have any questions. Thanks.